Namaste. Good morning. Sunday morning, vanakkam, and wishes for Ram Navami also. Having said that, today I have absolutely, if my parents were alive, they would have skinned me alive for sitting next to Gopal uncle because I've grown up in his laps. So, and Vijay Bhai has become a very dear friend over the last few months, years, and it would not have been possible but for Lakshmi Narayananji, who is sitting right in front of me, to have introduced us. So thank you. Topic for the day is, for the session, is New Age business and how they look at corporate social responsibility, or how about giving to the culture and conserving culture. Mr. Gopal Srinivasan comes from at least 100 plus years of corporate social responsibility in this side of Vindhyas. They run schools, they run hospitals, they run a lot of cultural organizations. I know he personally supports a lot of initiatives. And Vijay Bhai is, I know he supports a lot of educational trusts. He does a lot of work on medical assistance also. There's a very new, it's a very old saying in Gujarati. Irrespective of how much we earn, we can eat very limited. Our wants are unlimited, our needs are very limited. We don't have to learn philanthropy from the West, because the concept of philanthropy started in all possibilities from where we are sitting at the moment, south of India's. I know that personally, I have experienced it. I have extended family who have benefited. I have benefited. I wouldn't be sitting here but for the generosity of the TVS group. And I know how Vijay Bhai goes about it. I'm going to start with one question, and I'm going to allow both of you to educate each and every citizen of Bharat. I prefer to call it Bharat. As to how corporates are not just for making money, and how they give to the society without advertising about it. The original concept of CSR was give with your left hand, but your right hand shouldn't know. That's the concept with which Bharatiyas were going about their thing. We are sitting in an institution which has been built by a trust nearly 77, 75, 76 years back. And they did it without someone telling them to. The government had no business telling how I spend my money, but they went about building educational institutions, trusts, charitable organizations, supporting them actively, passively. So that's the start. And I hand it over to the experts who have done. And thank you very much, both of you, for taking time out on a Sunday morning. My personal gratitude. With Uncle, I can take that liberty, but with Vijay Bhai, my personal gratitude. Thank you very much. Over to you, sir.
You're the guest. Let him be the guest. Please start.
First of all, thank you so much. It is truly a privilege to sit next to Sir. And thank you everybody for giving us an opportunity to be part of it, and giving me an opportunity to be in company of all of you. I think CSR, as we know of today, like you suggested, is actually an inherent desire of a human once the needs are fulfilled and the unlimited amount of want. And then, as we all know, Gita or Indian, I'd say, culture goes back to giving as a part of lesson and learning. The fulfillment does not come just because you are consuming. We are not individualistic society. The very much the West is. We are together, Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam society. All of us are part of my family, and I belong to this family as philosophy. So the very, very much, we never feel fulfilled till the time period everybody in my family is feeling fulfilled. And because of that, we come, this contribution to the good cause of community and the cause of your dharma, your people, it just becomes your people. And I think that's very, very much the reason that we've seen ever since the temple economy to today's economy. The one who could have earned was contributing, and one who needed was getting, and it did not require a tax, so to say, to give this. And that was the ultimate dharma, I would say, because it did not require taxing to the rich and then handing over. That's a very Western concept inherently. And we all today talk about taxing as a limitation of our lives. So we all belong to this community and cause. My grandfather, who was a Ved, was also one of those who, by virtue of his ability and access to resources, was able to do a lot in his community. And I think this is exactly what inherits the Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam that we all are part of. And I think this is why today when we are sitting here, we are talking about Sir and his family. We are talking about many of all of you who are in the audience today or otherwise, that who have contributed so much to the place. Like you very well said, that it is not to be talked about or sung about. It is, in my opinion, the ultimate peace existed when, in the name of God, you contributed, and then in the name of God, the person who was operating it kept it well and then operated what was needy. And that was better than a tax. That was better than the way that probably West tried to solve it. Also, the very fact that we all belong to a family, it did not mean that I, by virtue of not having enough or having enough, was different than the family member. It was all together sitting, and that is why we would eat together on a banana leaf and then be together similarly looking like this. So the difference was not there. It is the Western culture which epitomizes individualism as a peak existence, which is what generates the desire to be individually superior over others, or gather more than others, or preserve more than others. And I think it has its own advantage for their economic growth that they see, but it is exactly where the peace and the prosperity of the total commune doesn't show up. And that is exactly the differentiation that we as Indian culture or Sanatan culture can say that. So I feel privileged being part of this culture itself and this thought itself. And like you just suggested, all of our families, whichever way it is, I think as we all know, even if somebody is of a less mean, does not mean that he would give, he would definitely contribute something. मंदिर में जाके सब कुछ दे के आते हैं, चाहे वो 1 रुपया दे के जाए या 1 लाख रुपया दे के जाए या 101 रुपया दे के जाए. They will contribute because they believe in the supreme power. And I think the answer to who is powerful is also in the supreme power. The fact that we are doubting the who is powerful also creates a race of being powerful. And that is also the very inheritance of the fact that aham brahmasmi. मैं ही ब्रह्म हूँ, मैं creator हूँ. And then this gets misunderstood and miscommunicated, and then individualism goes big. So behind the scene, the corporate is an institution, individual is contributor. So the corporates or the companies, those who believe they're part of a community, have always contributed. I also, just like you suggested, am part of somebody's good wishes that my education was at a cost that my family could have not afforded at that point of time. But I was well educated because I was in an institute that was contributed by somebody's good beings. And I think we all have around us the examples like this. The important thing is to celebrate them, acknowledge them, and continue to tell the continuous incremental generations that this is how the Sanatan Dharma, this is how the Indian culture extended and expanded. And I think this is also the reason in a country like United States, where we go and talk about that this is the peak economic power, the community of Indians in different cohorts is so powerful and able and delivering so impactful results. And that is why, when you look at it, we come out as a global citizen who are together in as many places. And it's very interesting that in a family there can be different kind of opinion about individuals, but together, we always are showing up together. We all are in one family. And that, in my opinion, is exactly how the corporates has to look at. New age corporates like us and otherwise traditional corporates which have been like butt vraksh of history like sirs are the examples that we learn and look up to them and learn from them how can we contribute and bring back some good deed which will give the good omen and good blessing of the community and society and God. So it is truly a privilege, like I said it, and what you said is exactly how I believe that we all are part of this cause where the individual is smaller than together, and together we are one.
And I just want to add to what my friend Vijay said. First, I want to answer your question. You know, madam, you asked the question, why in India are startups doing instant delivery of money as he did, or instant delivery of food as somebody else did, and why does a minister go out and make a point out of it? It's something to do with a factor called time. I was just checking, since everybody's on Chat GPT, I too am. China's GDP in 2009 was $4 trillion. We are in 2025, 16 years now. The top 3 companies in China in 2009, unicorns list. I asked ChatGPT, tell me who are the unicorns in 2009. Alibaba, e-commerce company. Tencent, a payment company and social networking company. And Baidu, the largest search engine. And it was the largest search engine because Google is not allowed in China. Now, if you ask the question, where will India be in 2035 at 8 or 10 trillion GDP, you will get a very different set of answers. Startups are motivated to follow opportunity. They are not motivated to create a nation in terms of taking risk with other people's money because other people will not give them the money for that. The government, if it's going to fund the startups entirely by itself from the consolidated fund of India, then you can say, please start battery, please start car, please start this. But when we take third-party money as kartas, we are eligible only to answer to a karta, who is the venture capitalist. So that is the simple reason, I think, and therefore I want to take that idea of time and go one step further. Our culture and values are founded maybe 3,000, 5,000, 6,000, N,000 years ago. It's also time. In that time, today we are standing in 2025 and talking about the Sanatana Dharma, the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We are talking about the role of Sanskrit. We are talking about the role of Dharma, what our Purusharthas are, and the first word is Dharma, and therefore Dharma is integral to our starting point of our life before we hit the other bookend called Moksha. So in that situation, we have to contextualize all what you are saying, Bharat, what you started off, in terms of time. Today's time. What is Dharma in today's time? In my opinion, the best CSR a new age business can do, and ma'am, one more thing I want to tell you, every business was a new age business. TVS was a new age business in 1906. When my grandfather said people are not coming in the bus, and people are afraid to come because some motor is running, he started stopping the bus in the middle and serving yella sapade between Pudukkottai and Trichy so that people will come. Now we will call it, what will we say? We will now say freemium model, free lunch for buying a ticket. So every business was a new age business at some point in its time. So in that context, all I want to say is, a good startup founder who has inherited, inhaled, imbibed our value, our Sanskriti in terms of our culture, the best CSR that person can do is to build a business that embodies that culture inside. That is the best thing. Today, we say Jai Shri Ram. Today is Shri Ram's birthday. So if Shri Ram was referred to as the Maryada Purushottama, the ultimate embodiment of all values, and at the same time we cannot take the name of Shri Ram without taking the name of Shri Krishna. because he is the embodiment of love, the embodiment of how the world should experience us every day, with love, with compassion, with mercy. So when we have Ram inside, with absolute perfect values and dharma, he is also a Godhead, and we have Krishna in how people experience us, then a good founder of today can succeed by creating those values in the firm. You know, we all talk about Shreya and Preya, right? It goes back to the Kathopanishad. So we are supposed to not succumb to Preya, the immediate pleasures, the immediate valuation, next round valuations that are taking place, the immediate award by Piyush Goyal in some function, right? And instead we are supposed to go after Shreya with patience, right? With patience, we build a business like he has built, and then we might go up and down in between, but ultimately with patience, Shreya gives us long-term sustainable happiness, which is the message of Sri Krishna to us also. So in many ways, we must think about the fact that if a good founder imbibes our values, the business is their best CSR, because they're creating value for society, they're creating value for the employees, they're creating value for the customers, and they're creating value for themselves. And what I've experienced, Bharat, is actually today we have a new wave of startup founders in the last 10 years, because the first wave was basically the people coming and doing consumer tech. Then the payment companies came. Then people who are founders left and started a new business round. People left Walmart and started PhonePe. He is a veteran founder. He started 197. From there, he went to Paytm. So you had these kind of marathon founders like him, and then you had a lot of the spin-out founders. This generation, I meet more and more people who haven't gone to IIT, who haven't gone to IIM, who have gone to Indian Institute of Rural Management, ARMA, who have gone to unknown colleges, who have come from very, very good rural backgrounds. These founders, I find, actually live our values very, very constantly. And the role of the venture capitalist, if it can be from Indian origin, today I think, Vijay, you have spoken in Startup Mahakumbh. You've talked about the need for Indian capital, if I remember the comment that you made. I think it's important that we have Indian capitalists, because the values flow through the rupees.
Yeah.
If we go to a founder, and if I go to my founder, I have a very good company in Chennai called UB. When I ask him, I'll say, I am meeting you as your representative. I am not meeting you as TVS Capital. I can only tell you what's good for you. TVS Capital will tell you in a board meeting through their vice presidents and principals what they want. But when you can take that attitude, only then this idea of Shreya and Preya can be managed, and we can give them advice for them to build sustainable businesses. But if we say, look, I don't care what happens, misreport some number, show some growth of 39%, don't show 19%, I will get a better round, then we are beginning the slippery slope. So I think the best contribution our startups can do in the new age is have founders who are willing to believe in the values that he talked about, practice those values. Okay, little bit straying left, right will be there. That we cannot help. Even Vyasa, when he wrote the Gita, allowed for some small slippages. If you recall in Bhagavatam, Narada points out to Vyasa, you're given little bit of leeway so that people will stay on the path of Dharma. And he says, in human mind, that leeway will become the primary obsession. And people only focus on the leeway, the FOMO. And then only he says, you must come, Prema Bhakti is the only way you can stay on the path of Dharma, right? So same way here also, if the leeway is valuation, we get obsessed with valuation. So we must get Indian capitalists, and I know it sounds very self-serving because TVS Capital does not take dollars. Every rupee we have is a rupee, which is as it should be. But so we can afford to say that. But we need more Indian capital, because Indian investors who invest in us are far more understanding of our culture and values. They don't want us to take shortcuts. They don't want us to do things that will hit us in the face.
I like to extend, sir, exactly what you're saying. When many of us companies go in public market, we get to see the investor of India, the retail investor, the Bombay-based institutional investor who's more or less, there is obviously FII, DII and retail, domestic investors and foreign investors. till probably 2020, foreign investors used to lead stock market, as I'm told, and because we came post 2020 is the reason that I'm saying it, that as I'm told. So till 2020, foreign investor was doing something, domestic investor will follow. And post-COVID era, what domestic investors are doing, foreign investor will do. So exactly what you're putting up, the DNA and the culture have started to accordingly normalize. Companies, young age companies are following the path of what my investor seeks. And the investor is seeking sustainability. There is a risk reward, but it has to be sustainable risk and reward. Not like you are there or not there kind of risk. Take a risk reward at a correct optimum size. So if you notice that post listing, every company, the newest company,
All
normalized
normalized.
to the focus of what they need in India. So what you're saying is so true that the money brings color and culture and its expectations. And the more the money that is colored and cultured for India, it will be better off for Indian startups and companies to get that. And it is truly I would say, a very, very correct way to portray and put the reason that India needs capital from India. And like you suggested, I was also talking about the China thing. It's very, very clear. The China invested long arc. They invest long arc. 2015 and 14, when I was in China, I was shocked with their obsession on EV. Obsession is the word. And they were reducing they were reducing pollution also in those days. They thought that it'll do two times job. It'll reduce the pollution from the cities, and it'll also give them an edge in electric vehicle. 2025, we don't have to talk why with one country is so ahead. And like we are talking about it, the government investments and many other support that exists is the reason that the ecosystem exists. And very well put, sir. We are 10, 15 years behind. We will do what is the current opportunity, and then we will continue to expand on that opportunity. And once we have abundance of capital and the arc length, there is an investment that will happen in the next layer of technology.
A simple question to both of you. How do we build socio-cultural capital? I completely agree with what you're saying, that the investor is the one who influences the culture of the company in which the money is getting invested. The seeker is looking for funding, and the funder says, I'll give you the money, but this is it's not explicit, but follows, the pressures are very subtle. It's not even spoken of. It's rarely, if ever, spoken of. So how do we build socio-cultural capital? I understand that if Bharatiyas are investing in Bharatiya companies, you preserve the culture. Now the concept of investing in Bharatiya culture through capital investment is something which the average common man today, man or woman, does not understand. In my humble opinion, it is the doyens of the industry who have to be more vocal about it and explain the benefits, just as you very correctly said, that if rupee is going in, then you know that the rupee is safe. But if a dollar is going in, the rupee is not safe. Because when I say the dollar, I mean foreign investment. When I say rupee, I mean the socio-cultural ethos of our civilization. How do we go about building it?
I think basically you are asking many questions and very complex ones, because you're saying that how does the capital come not only with valuation but also with values?
Yes.
Right? So how do you build that in? Ultimately, for the larger part of society, people who are contributing into long-term building of companies, I'm only referring to the thing I know, which is how do you build companies for 8 to 10 year horizons. I don't understand the short-term market. That's a very different market. and it requires a very different type of skill to manage. The big thing, in a very simple way, missing in India is the mass wealth which comes from pensions and insurance. Only one portion, one vibhag is coming to us, and that is the one which comes from insurance companies. The biggest wealth of nearly 30 to 33 trillion rupees is actually sitting in pension between PF and NPS. So if that comes through the proper, very safe, regulated mechanisms to the VC and PE funds, that will create a very, very Similarly, the recent scheme the government has announced, which is to give 20,000 crores of interest-free money to something called the Research and Development Innovation Fund, part of which will come as loans to companies after translation research, and part of it will come through a fund of funds, and part of it will come through VEC funds at a much higher risk-taking ability. That again will bring alignment between the culture, or the rather what the nation needs and what the startups do. But the pension money, when it comes through a pension funds, I think when I deal with insurance companies or pension particularly, I find they represent the values of our country quite well. So for example, when you go to a life insurance company, the way they think about it is very down to earth. When I say down to earth, it is not caught in the frothiness of trying to be like somebody else.
Cautious. They are very cautious.
And very Indian.
Typically Bharatiya.
Yeah, very Indian, I would say. Because these are people or professionals who come up through the hard way. They've joined after CA, BA Tech, become officers, managers, GMs, become chief investment officers. They're steeped in our culture. It is the presence of the foreign venture capitalist who comes, especially the hedge fund, who puts some quick money here and quick money there, which distorts all that those vasanas intrude into our systems. So I think institutional money, when it comes from both government, like what SIDBI has done, it's a fantastic example. SIDBI has put 10,000 crores that has become close to 1 lakh crores in terms of money companies have received. And the way they run is they look at it in a very Indian way, which is, what do you mean by Indian way? The Indianness.
Yes.
And what is Indianness? It is our values and culture. So we need to bring more institutional money. I think we'll see a huge difference, and I believe it's happening. In fact, when the new PFRDA chairman just took over, or just got appointed 2 days ago, his first message to me was pension funds need to become stronger so that we can pay our pensions properly, and funding private capital is one of the many ways I will be looking at. I was very happy. On his own, he sent that message to me.
Good. Vijay bhai, what is your...
I think we all talk about Atmanirbhar Bharat and self-reliant India. There is no secret about it that you can't have a self-reliant India till the time period we have a self-reliant capital and access to capital. Access to capital and the use of capital and the color of capital, this is what the tinge that you see. It's like what kind of insights or things you're teaching to your kid. It is literally like that. I mean, I'm going to give you an example of, I took money from Japan and it was a large money. I raised plus 10,000 crore from Japan. And the approach, I mean, which is good. As an entrepreneur, I love that approach. And it was like, go big, go home. You have to all in, go all time. At the same point of time, it was not definitely the most prudent use of capital, the capital that we had access to. There is a dramatic amount of differentiation we could have. I mean, there is an impact that you see the Paytm created every nook and corner of the country, but I could have done even more number of things if at all there was an opportunity to think in a different way that we could have thought about it. So I'm going to say that if India wants to be self-reliant, India needs to go towards the self-reliant capital, and it is no secret about it that we don't have so much of capital, but that's not true. We have so much of capital. We have so much of capital locked
Idle
in
money
temples, we have
lying
so
around.
much of capital locked in families, you have so much capital locked in cash, you have so much capital locked in. I think it's a very sad state, in my opinion, that India is considered poor, third world country, when we have literally trillions of savings that do not mobilize or move. I mean, all of us are some or other gold saved at our families, right? It's a capital locked. It is not even being pledged to move in the economy. While $1 trillion investment of that, like sir suggested, pension investment back in the market, maybe, in my opinion, up till now, equity culture, if you see 10, 20 years back, was only belonging to a few in the country. And I'll say post 2020, equity, which is a risk reward based economy, is now far more prevalent. Many people understand. The bank account interest rates have gone so low that people have started to figure out that how else it will make money. So let me think of let me say my way of thinking. When many small people will make money, they'll wake up the big capital. Big capital will find a way in equity, whether it is in public, private, small, young, technology or innovative startups. It is only a journey that will get triggered by something that experimented it first. And that will experiment to the big. It's like a change that will follow there. And one day, like the perfect example here would be that the pension fund or the insurance capital will also be unlocked. Look, there is money in India. That is why you have Ladli Behan and Ladli Behan Yojana. Because there is so much of money. Otherwise, where is this money coming from? And that money could be leveraged. Similarly, there is another capital excess. When we have self-reliant capital, we will have self-reliant India.
And to add to that, we don't need that 100% has to. Atmanirbharta does not mean 100%.
Yeah.
So
it has to be triggered owner. 20, 30 leverage of that. So if you do 1/3, 2/3 will show up. And you're the lead take. So passive capital will show up.
Put the first foot forward and, the gang joins so that you go in for a marathon. That's in simple things. The theme for this year is Vasudeva Kutumbakam, which in Tamil means Yadum Bure Yavurum Kerir. When I say means, I mean a literal translation, not exact to the word. I know of old corporates like TVS, Tatas, Birlas, Godrej's, where an employee joins and they do not have they don't have words like resignation, termination in their mind. Those words did not exist. Today's competitive times are different. So with times will change policies also. Culture doesn't change. Culture modifies. It adapts to the times is my understanding. I may be wrong, but my understanding. I understand the work culture and ethics of Bharat are way different from the West. The hire and fire policy which the West follows was invented by them. Here we had accountants, munshis. For generations they were the munshis, they were the accountants. We had secretarial staff, we had admin people, we had managers, workers who for generations have stayed with organizations and have prospered. It's, my grandfather could have been starting at a floor shop and, I could be sitting in the management rooms. How do we transfer these ethics, these morals? I know TVS follows that morals even today. I know Paytm has a very strict policy of ensuring that employees are treated like family. So, that is taken care of. Vasudeva Kutumbakam is, it's in our, you can't say blood, it's in our system, it's in the DNA. It's something which we don't even speak of. We don't even realize that we're treating everyone like family. But going ahead, for the next generation or in the next 20 years, my personal fear is that if these cultural values are not passed on to younger generation who may become entrepreneurs, who may become managers, they going ahead, they all will have their professional lives. How do we take care of that?
I think it's a very interesting situation where we have individuals chasing abundance and not satisfied with what they have, and somebody offering the bait and then you running towards that. It just happens by the evolution. I mean, over the period in Paytm, the culture that we have is you can check out any time, but you can't leave, because we have people who have come twice or thrice back in the company, all because they chased something and they got dissatisfied. They further chased something and then they came back, okay, I'm here. And at the same point of time, we have people who have been here for 15, 20 years. In my opinion, it is a byproduct of growth, if you will, because there are more choices, people will go to those, but over the period, then people will discover what is good over other. For example, like in a food court, in a mall, when things open, then you try to go to experiment every kind of food, and then you, in the end, come back, oh, I like my sambar idli, and I like that. I like my rasam over my other drink or so on. So there is a beauty in experimenting, but there is a obligation of coming back to the root. And it is part of the very solution of growth that we are chasing, that there will be choices that will show in front of people, and then people will become wiser that this is the overall package that I'm seeking. It is not just the money. Because there is no secret about it. If you're chasing money, money is a number. It'll continue to grow, and there is infinite number of number, and you will always remain dissatisfied, and you have to balance what is there or not. It's interesting, Bangalore, Chennai, Bombay, Delhi, all companies have different people culture. All because of they are local there. You know, they want to be part of this. For example, like in Bombay, even in a young company, these companies, the people will go to a large company and then they will stay, the same job profile. And they're like, wow, you were a startup guy, now you're a big company guy. Are you going to come out of it or not? And then they're happy there. So I would say this is individual selection of values or combination of things they're seeking, and it will settle towards a new norm where the need of growth or number in commercial sense and the need of what every other value or the combination that I get thereof, people see. Incidentally, the startup inherits that because it is a risk reward proposition higher than the normal job. So people in an established organization, let's say in banking, finance, or let's say in industrial, people will go from there to a young company. So from a factory of, let's say, automobile, they're going to Ather. Now that's a scooter making young company. From Bajaj, they're going to Ather. So now they have to offer something extra. At the same point, so this is a risk reward. If it is good, the Ather will be successful. If it is not, the company itself will get challenged and the people will go back to. So I'd say this is the kind of shaking, the manthan that happens, and the new norm evolves and the more gets created, but it is up to the companies to stand for the value they stand for and up to the individual to seek what the holistic purpose or combination is seeking.
I just want to take two different cuts at your question. With severe poverty, it becomes the role of the Shreshtas, the business community, the government, to actually become a paternalistic caregiver to those who are distressed. In a 2050 India, today you have 1 quintile of 20% of the population doing good, another 20% getting there, and maybe another 20% trying to get there, and another 40% which is totally care of Bharat Sarkar. So in a situation like that is today much superior to 1960 when TVS started manufacturing. In 2050, whatever number you want to throw at it, you're going to have at least 80%, one more quintile, at a various stage where they've got education, they've got access, which is fantastic. And therefore, people will have to be guided by their own values and culture and not by a paternalistic Annadhata who is looking after them. In that situation, I think two things matter a lot. One is, people must have their ability to discriminate and understand what their natural vasanas and what their natural capabilities are. When Lord Krishna says, Guna Karma Vibhagaha, which is the way, according to him, that is the way to divide ourselves. That capability must be in the system. So people pursue what careers they're good at and they find happiness in it. That only the Shreya will only come to that way. But for that to take place, I think there is an existential challenge we face. And that is if we do not have a mass education system where culture and values and our Sanskriti is taught in school, I do not really see how it will take place. You will have too much of diversity, too much of diversification. If in a Christian and Muslim school they can be taught their culture and values, and today in an Indian school they cannot be taught. I know the government is doing some fantastic work with things like IKS, no doubt about it. But IKS is still a workaround, it's still a jugad. In our startup language, it's a jugad. Rather than just change the law, which is what we should do and we can unable to do for whatever reasons, we should basically say if you go to school, you learn Ramayana, you learn Mahabharata, you learn, because you'll see what the values are. You learn from the early age, you're taught Panchatantra, so you start with children to learn Tarka in their own way. You basically then are taught what is the Upanishads, what is the Vedas, why is the Prasthanatraya, and so on as you keep progressing through life. Then people will use that, and the best way to find the fact that you should chase not what other people think you should do, but what your inner gunas are, is to learn our culture and values. Every other country in the world, their culture and values are taught in school. School is the only mass delivery system where you have 300, 200 million kids, where you can absolutely distribute. Any other system, I think, will be very inefficient. So I am hoping that will come.
Before I go to the audience for any questions, this is like an out of syllabus question, so I'll seek forgiveness before I even mouth them. The government has no business to be in business. The government has no business to be in being the security guard or the chowkidar at private entities. Similarly, our age-old practice of taxation was a million times better than what it is today. The king, in their particular state, had a very detailed way of taxation. It was not one size fits all. Today you have slabs, you have multiple taxation, complex taxations, which in my personal opinion, I have a lot of chartered account friends, but if you do away with the chartered accountant team, 99% of the people will start filing honest income taxes. It's the chartered accountant who finds you ways to escape the taxation net. That's my personal opinion. I have a lot of friends who are chartered accountants, dear friends. So I mean no disrespect, but that's the system. And they have loopholes. You give them an inch and they take a mile. There is a new concept which is it's not a new concept actually, it's a very old concept, but it has been rehashed and terminologies have changed to suit modern times, which is called the banking transaction tax. It is being spoken of. There are proponents of it who have very logical reasons why banking transaction tax should be implemented, and they have given data to prove that that's a better format. It's a debatable format. It's a debatable format. Now, without getting into the specifics, because that's really out of syllabus, on the taxation front, I'm talking purely in today's times, the corporate social responsibility. I know a lot of corporates who have a foundation which will take care of corporate social responsibility, which the corporate company has to do. It is headed by a family member who is not directly connected to the board. So it's basically going from the left pocket to the right pocket, and it's not my left hand which decides how the money is being sent, but the right hand decides. And it's very strategically, legally camouflaged in such a way that it's legally untouchable. But they basically use it not as pure social responsibility, but they use it as an advertising platform. Without getting into what is happening today, what's a better solution is my question. Having said what's happening today, we should not comment on what is happening today because it may, it's an out of syllabus thing. But what is a better system is the question.
I would say that the system has done a lot of good first. I am not suggesting that the system is blemishless, but very few countries actually have by law the need for corporates to spend this amount of their profits towards a social responsibility cause. So I would first look at the good that it has done, right? Regardless of left to right pocket, or regardless of public sector getting calls from certain people saying, can you give it here or there? But ultimately, I think they're doing a lot of good, right? And I don't think at this point in time, we should intervene in this matter, is my personal opinion. Because ultimately, the idea that people want to do good and should be given the latitude to operate should be at the core of how we govern a nation.
That is the basic moot question of
Yeah.
mine. You worded it perfectly. You've actually rephrased my question, but then that's aptly put. Before the legal implementation of CSR, where companies which have been around for hundreds of years, who have, without being forced to do it, have done probably hundreds of times more to the society. That is proven fact. Now, because it's a legal requirement that you have to do this much of CSR, should the government not do away with the legal requirement and just monitor how it's being done? Give a chance again, because yes, times have changed. Obviously, the cultural ethos has also changed of the founders. Not all, but some. Because of which there was a necessity to bring in the new law. And yes, it can continue for the public sector undertakings because, public sector undertakings are money which belongs to the public. I'm talking private entities, without the force, without being, it should not be enforced but monitored. Give them a chance to prove, because they've been doing it for decades. You think it's something which needs to be discussed also?
So, tax is a method that companies or individual contribute towards government who can spend inherently, and then government pursues certain social good and needs, making some road infra or the infrastructure to every other thing. If we have a radical thought, the only thought that I can have is that instead of giving it to the government, we are allowed to spend ourselves. And we are forced to spend in a way, instead of 2%, if I could make it 20% of my spend, instead of giving it to someone to spend in a bigger ticket, I could invest in my own ticket. So that's a single linear thought that I'm having, instead of a larger arc picture that I could take care of all context of it. For example, like I look at it that I work for government, by the way. I work 5 months for government and 7 months for my family. That is how I look at it, because 5 months income is given to government to spend, 7 months of income is for them to keep. And similarly, in a corporate, if a certain money is given to the tax, give me an opportunity to spend myself, and then ask me that it should be done in a particular method or method. Yeah, happy to do it. It'll be more accountable, more probably towards the direction that we believe could be useful for.
We'll
I'd
have
say,
time for.
Bharat, to add to what you said is, rather than change this, I mean, I love this idea that a taxpayer can check, I want more money of my tax to go to education rather than health. That's brilliant. But the thing is, today, I just see, I think there's a monk who's sitting with us, it looks like. I'm guessing Ramakrishna Mission, safe guess. Strengthen the hands of these charitable organizations. Today they are forced to spend 85% of their income every year, and they are not able to put money into reserves and strengthen their corpus. It's a huge issue, which means they have to constantly be raising money. I would rather go with American law, which says 5% of corpus you spend, any surplus you keep, and give them more latitude on how they invest. That will actually be a first measure to do in the CSR side, allowing charitable trusts not to be forced to spend that 85%. Then what do? They buy land, because land becomes an asset. Asset then counts as expenditure. Instead of playing all these games, just say, boss, 5% you spend. Balance, if you make 8-9%, you put it back in your corpus. Make the charitable institutions stronger.
That's what I was looking for. We'll have time just for 2 questions, audience questions. Can we move the mic around, please? I'm sorry, Shefali, I'm overshooting by 3-4 minutes. I'm really sorry.
I have a question for you. What is your idea about this new stock exchange kind of thing which government has brought for helping this charitable organizations like Ramakrishna Mission? We have been thinking about this idea. We have had many meetings, and we thought that that is probably for people who are like the new age NGOs, who have people graduating from, say, Tata Institute of Social Service, Mumbai, who have to give huge salaries. And we have not yet decided to be a part of that because we are much older and we have a heritage. But what do you think, whether it is a workable model? It's still in its nascent stage. And so that kind of stock exchange where all the charitable organizations should pitch their work, and they have kind of a equity issue there. So social stock exchange, I'm talking about social stock exchange. What is your take on that?
Maharaj, my view would be that for the sake of charitable collection, we need multiple streams to work. So this stream will also work. CSR is one stream. People giving their own volition is one stream. Strengthening the corpus of charities by allowing them, not forcing them to spend money is one stream. We need to allow charities to make more investments in equity if they're large enough so they can increase their returns. That's another stream. We need to do a bunch of things. It's not going to be a single point solution. So social stock exchange will pick up, and I definitely think, I do not think of Ramakrishna Mission in any other way other than as a new age institution. I work closely with the mission, and I find that you have monks which appear to be very old age, and you have monks which are absolutely rock star startup monks. So I would just say, you please think of yourself only as a new age. I don't think Swamiji would have it any other way.
This will be the last question.
I think we have digressed to the government rather than the topic was the new age, what new age business can contribute towards culture. So my question is that why most of the businesses, they are more investing in the hardware like building temples or building, whereas you will find that there are no shastras, there are no scholarship for Pathashala or Gurukuls who can get from 8 years after that, they have to do another 10 years to become a Shastri, to become a PhD. But nobody is coming forward to, with the result, what happens is in the Pathashala, after 8 years of study, they become Pandits. So we have lots of Pandits because there's jobs available, but there are no Shastras. For example, we build IKS courses. we're not able to find Shastra scholars. And most of the business people are not bothered about these kinds of, education of culture or values or that kind of space. They invest in modern schools. All the big people are building modern schools with 2 lakhs rupees a month or 3 lakhs rupees a month, but nobody is building a modern Gurukul where everything can be taught and the culture and values can come in. I think that's very much lacking in our business community, and I would like to just give that to your thought.
I think like young age companies have this limitation because they are not necessarily a lot of free cash generating. So they look up to what traditionally been done, like this institute or many other things. So once they start to have opportunities, the impact they are able to bring are even in the direction that you suggested and many more impactful directions. Which company picks which one is actually about the knowledge they have, and I think the interest they have, like we all know. I acknowledge this limitation. At the same point in time, I can only talk about it that young companies do not have a lot of free cash. So they may just do, this is a good approach. Once it is propagated from programs like this, it will get done.
I just add one thing, JK.
You borrow tens of thousands of crores and then you say that you don't have money.
No, profitability. So this is a very interesting lesson that we just talked about. So there is an equity capital that invests in 10,000 crore in capital of business expansion, but the business has to generate profit, and after that comes these contributions. I'm very proud to say this. Individually, I contribute. Individually, my contributions show up. And at the same point in time, now we have started to think from company side. And I would say that in due course, it starts to become bigger. I'm talking about a larger statement about the many more startups. My intention was that.
I think, JK, the way I would look at it is everybody has their own journeys. Everybody is a sadhak. We all have our sadhanas, but our sadhyas are changing as we mature and grow. For example, if you ask me personally, I would say I would love to go to Ramakrishna Mission and say, we will give you X number of crores. Can you start getting 1,000 monks a year? To me, a monk is the most valuable asset we can create because they have a huge multiplier effect. So somebody may say, I want to do Shastris. So I think that journey each one will find. For me, I see after I never understood the power of monks, still I started working with Ramakrishna Mission. Now I realize we just need more monks and they're not producing more than 50, 60 a year. They need 500 to 1,000 monks a year, new monks to come into the system. So that is where I would like to put money, but I'm not sure money will solve the problem. So each one will find their ways is what I would say. Many ways to one goal.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for the beautiful walkthrough that we started off with the capital investment. How is it flowing through to walking into what is a new age startup company looking for, and what is the government's role in it, and also taking us through the CSR initiative and the motive behind that, the culture of employment, the culture of the business industries. It was a beautiful walkthrough. Thank you so much. A good round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, to the panelists.